Here's the thing most people don't realize about why Claude AI outputs feel generic. It's not the model, it's not the prompt, it's not even the brief, though the brief matters. It's that every time you start a new Claude AI conversation, it starts from zero. It doesn't know who you are, it doesn't know who your stakeholders are, it doesn't know what tone works in your context, what you're trying to achieve, or what you've been working on. There's one setup that fixes this permanently. You do it once, and from that point, every output gets better because Claude AI is working from a complete picture of your situation instead of starting fresh every time. This episode is about that setup. Let me describe something most Claude AI users experience and don't have a name for. You open Claude AI, you write a brief, you get something back that's technically fine, well-structured, professional, covers the topic, but it doesn't quite fit. It's not wrong, it just doesn't know things that feel obvious to you. Who Sarah is and why she needs information presented a certain way, what your organization actually cares about, how you normally communicate in this context. So you edit it, you add context, you redirect, you get something closer. But the next time you come back, you start from zero again. Same problem, same workaround, same time cost. That's the fresh start problem. And it compounds. Every task, every day, you're paying the same context tax, explaining yourself to Claude AI from scratch every single time. The setup is a project workspace called Cowork in Claude AI, where you write your context once and it's there permanently. Not for one conversation, for every conversation in that project forever until you update it. What you write there, who you are in this context, who the key people are and what they care about, what you're currently working on, what tone works, what to always include, what to never do. What you get, briefs that are half the length because you're not re-explaining what the project context already covers. Outputs that are twice as specific because Claude AI is working from a complete picture rather than whatever you manage to squeeze into a brief. And a compounding effect. The longer you use a project, the better it gets, because the conversation history deepens alongside the context. Part 1. What changes immediately? 3 things that are different from the first brief you write inside a project. The first thing that changes, your briefs get dramatically shorter. Right now, every brief you write has to carry the full context of your situation. Who you're writing to, what the relationship is, what tone works, what this person cares about. That's not the task. That's the setup for the task, and it's costing you 2 to 4 minutes on every brief. Inside a project, that context is already there. Your brief covers only what's new, the specific task, the specific update, the specific situation. Everything else is handled. Before the project, email to Sarah Chen, our COO. She reads everything in the first paragraph, is commercially focused, and will lose interest if I don't lead with the key point. We're midway through the system migration, and she's under pressure from the board. After the project, weekly update to Sarah. Migration on track, UI testing 2 days behind, but resolved. Same output quality, 30 seconds instead of 4 minutes. The second thing that changes, the outputs stop feeling generic. Generic outputs happen when Claude AI is working from a thin brief. It doesn't know enough about your situation to do anything other than produce the professional average. Technically correct, not quite yours. When the project context is rich, when Claude AI knows Sarah reads on her phone, that James prefers bullet points, that your organization never uses passive voice in external communications, the output is calibrated to your actual situation from the first word. You're not editing to make it fit. It fits because the context that usually lives in your head is now written down in a place Claude AI can actually use. The third thing that changes, and this one takes a few weeks to notice, is the compounding. Every task you bring to a project becomes part of the conversation history. Every output, every direction you give, every refinement. Over time, Claude AI understands not just what you told it in the context, but how you actually work, what you respond well to, what you tend to change. By month 2, your briefs are shorter than they were in week 1. By month 3, the outputs need less direction than they did in month 2. The project gets better the more you use it, which means the time investment in setting it up pays back compoundingly, not just for this week's tasks, but for every task in that context from here on. Part 2. Setting it up. What to write, how specific to be, and the one element that makes the biggest difference. Your project context needs 5 things. Here's the template. This project covers what the project is, what it's trying to achieve, why it matters. I am, your role in relation to this project, specific, not just your job title. Key people, name, what they care about, how they communicate, what matters to them specifically. Current focus, what's most active right now. Update this when things shift. Always, what to always include. Never, what to avoid. Tone, how outputs in this project should feel. That's the whole thing. Fill it in with as much specific detail as you can manage. 15 minutes if you do it properly. One setup that pays back on every task from this point forward. One element makes more difference than all the others combined. The key people section. Most people write something like key stakeholders, my manager, the client, the operations team. That's not useful. Claude AI still has to guess who those people are and what they want. What's useful? Sarah Chen, COO, reads everything in the first paragraph, needs the key point up front, commercially focused, approves all major communications before send. She responds well to confidence and is allergic to hedging. That's a brief for a person. And when Claude AI has a brief for every key person in your project, every output is calibrated for whoever is actually going to read it, not for a generic professional. The difference in output quality between key stakeholders, the client, and a specific 3-sentence description of exactly who the client is and how they think is significant. That specificity is the whole game. One question that comes up: how many projects do you actually need? One per major responsibility or communication context. Not one per task, one per area of work that you return to repeatedly. For most professionals, that's 2 or 3. One for your main client or external relationship, one for internal communications, your team, your manager, your leadership. Possibly one for a major initiative that has its own stakeholders and context. Start with one, the one where better, faster communication would make the most difference this week. Set it up properly, use it for 2 weeks, and you'll know whether you need a second one. Part 3. What this looks like in practice. Here's what a week of work looks like with and without a project context. Without: Monday morning, 8 communications to draft. Each one requires a full brief: who you're writing to, what the context is, what tone works. An hour and a half, minimum. The outputs are fine. You edit each one to make it fit. 2 hours total. With: Monday morning, same 8 communications. Each brief is 1 or 2 sentences because the project context carries the rest. 20 minutes. The outputs are specific and calibrated. The personal pass catches 1 word on 3 of them. Done. Same week, same communications, same standards. 90 minutes returned to you every week, compounding. When it's not working as well as it should, here's how to fix it fast. Outputs still feel generic. The key people section needs more specificity. Add 1 more sentence about each person, how they communicate, what they respond well to. You're still writing long briefs. The context isn't doing enough heavy lifting. Look at your last 3 briefs. What did you explain that the context should already know? Move it in. The tone is consistently off. Add a specific example. Paste 1 sentence from something you wrote that sounded right and tell Claude AI to match the register of that. Output is missing something you always need. Add it to always. Whatever Claude AI consistently misses is something you know but haven't written down yet. Here's why this matters beyond the time saving. Right now, most of the knowledge that makes your professional communications good lives in your head. You know how Sarah likes to be communicated with. You know what your organization's tone actually sounds like. You know what matters in this context and what doesn't. The project setup is the act of writing that knowledge down in a form that Claude AI can use on your behalf. And the process of writing it down is often clarifying in itself. You notice things about how you work and communicate that you'd never articulated before. Which means the setup doesn't just improve your Claude AI outputs, it improves your understanding of your own professional context. And that's worth something entirely separate from the time it saves. Quick reference: the whole setup on one screen. 5 elements: what the project is, your role, key people, current focus, conventions. The element that matters most: key people. One specific brief per person: what they care about, how they communicate, what they respond to. How many projects? 1 per major responsibility. Start with 1, the one where better outputs would make the most difference this week. The diagnostic: generic outputs, more specificity in key people. Long briefs: move context into the project. Wrong tone? Add a sentence example. 2 things in the description. The brief, 1 page. Free: the brief framework that works alongside this setup for the task-level briefs that go inside a project. Your first week with Claude AI at work, $30. Day 2 builds this project setup in detail, including a fillable context worksheet. By the end of day 2, your first project is live. Both links in the description, via Claude for Lawyers on Gumroad. Same creator. That's episode 14. 1 setup, done once, every output better from this point forward. Serious skills, actual output, every time. See you in the next one.